So when you yourself are a problem, well, you're on self-help.
So how do you begin to break out of that? Like if we're all stuck in these compulsive patterns, how do you gain the consciousness that you're talking about and begin to, I don't know if the words go beyond, elevate, like how do you stop being in that endless cycle?
Everybody wants a solution, but nobody wants to delve into the problem and see what is the nature of the problem that we have. The nature of the problem is like this. Why are we compulsive? What is it that's compulsive about us? Compulsion means we are going to the same place again and again. That means we are going in circles. The nature of physical existence in the universe is such, whether you take an atom, an individual atom, or the cosmic space, everything that's physical is always in cyclical movement. The atoms are doing their circles, the solar system is doing its stuff, the galaxies are doing their stuff, our own bodies are going through cycles. In fact, we are born because of the cycles in our mother's bodies, that's why we are born. So, entire physical nature is born out of cyclical movement, that means compulsiveness. So do not misunderstand compulsiveness as something bad, it's the basis of your existence. It is a good platform, but you're supposed to stand on the platform and act. Right now you have become the platform, so somebody else will dance on you.
Interesting. That's… so my thing, and part of what drives me is getting efficient at achieving your goal, which I'm sure is less than thrilling for you. So for me, I am interested in actually executing on my potential. So transferring my ability to do something into the actual thing. So the easy example I give people is if
What does impact mean for you? Leaving a footprint?
Not quite. So I have a very specific kind of impact that I'm trying to have, which is to help people actuate their potential. So I think that a lot of people, they are capable of extraordinary things, and I think that to your point about joy, I think one of the things that's absolutely foundational to joy is growth. And so getting people on a path where they believe they can
say
grow.
it that way?
That's
Why is
just
growth foundational to joy? Joy is foundational to growth, isn't it?
Probably, yes. But I don't have an insight as to what came first, which is exactly why you're…
No, there is substantial medical and scientific evidence to show that only when you're in a pleasant state of experience, your body and your brain works at its best. There's no argument about that, there's enough evidence to show that. So whatever impact or success or reaching goals or growth or whatever you say, on one level in the physical world, it's about how well you harness your physiological and your psychological process, isn't it? Whether your body and mind works against you or works for you, this is a big difference. So there is enough evidence to show only when you're in pleasant levels of experience, this happens best. So obviously, joy is first, then growth. If you're joyful constantly and you have no fear of suffering because you understand all human experience comes from within you, and so you have managed to create the kind of experience that you want, now growth is possible unbridled. If you have the fear of falling down and suffering, you will not go very high, isn't it?
So how do you work through that? How do you help people on that path?
Many ways to look at it. One of the simplest ways to see it is all human experience has a chemical basis to it. Right now, let us say you're joyful. If you look at your chemistry, it'll be in a certain way. Let's say you're miserable. If you check your chemistry, it'll be a completely different way. Now we have a technology that with which you create a chemistry of blissfulness. So my chemistry is blissful, doesn't matter what's happening. The drama around me is happening in so many different ways, but this is a privilege that I've kept for myself. Me being joyful or miserable, me being peaceful or disturbed, these privileges I have not given it to anybody else, I kept them to myself. I think every human being should do that. That the privileges of the nature of your experience must be in your hand. Because when you try to act in the world, there are many forces. All of them will not always cooperate. Sometimes they cooperate, many times they will not cooperate, many times they'll turn against you. This is the nature of the world, that's how it should be. World will never happen 100% your way, and I'm glad it is so, because if it all happened your way, where do I go? I'm glad it's not happening your way. Little bit my way, little bit your way, little bit somebody else's way. That's how the world should be.
It's very interesting. Is there a way to avoid falling into those traps? Like, I know that you've taken some very different approaches, at least from an American set of eyes, to raising your daughter and not wanting to put a lot of teachings on her. Is that to avoid dogma? Is it to avoid closing doors because you think you know something? Like, how do we, if we were gonna have kids and raise them in a way that stopped them from falling into some of these traps, what would we do?
How many parents would dare and encourage their children not to be identified with parents, not to be identified with the religion that they follow, not to be identified with their racial and national and other prejudices that they hold? We all think these things are sacred, isn't it? Yes. These are the things which destroy human potential. Whether you want to turn a human being… See, I see this term and it really hurts me when people say… It's very common, only in America I hear this, I was raised as whatever, Catholic or Baptist or Christian or Muslim or whatever else. I was raised. See, you must raise only cattle and sheep. You don't raise human beings. You have to cultivate a human being. You have to give space and give support of love and support so that a human being grows, because every human being is capable of a unique possibility. Raising means what? A flock is what you raise. You don't raise an individual, isn't it?
It's very interesting.
So, for this, we need to come to a certain level of maturity within ourselves. The most fundamental thing is, our children need not look like us, need not think like us, need not act like us, need not be us in any way. A child is not a legacy. It's a life, and it's an individual life. It has to be what it has to be. Well, if I do not influence, right now the fear is if I do not influence, somebody on the street will influence the child, on the social media they'll influence the child. So to cultivate a child so that they know that the intrinsic intelligence and being human is more important than being influenced by this or that, it doesn't matter what it is. Whether it's parentage, or it's a priest, or it's a guru, or it's a pandit, it doesn't matter who. Influence is not important. What is important is the intrinsic intelligence finding its full potential.
And do you think as we grow up in a modern context that we can avoid adopting those beliefs? You talked one time, I thought this was so interesting, about how every time you get a belief, it's like a conclusion, and every conclusion is a death unto itself, and it's like shutting a door on something.
Yes, otherwise, see, you just see, you look at your own picture when you were 5 years of age, it's like this. Slowly it's becoming like this. What is it? You're dying in installments. The more conclusions you make, the less alive you become. This is all that's happened to people. They call this knowledge. This is not knowledge. This is just conclusions that you're drawing about everything. See, with all this scientific exploration, the fact is that even today, we do not know one single atom in its entirety. We know how to use them. We know how to use everything on this planet, but we don't know a damn thing about anything. Over 90% or 99% of an atom is empty. We don't know what that emptiness contains. Over 99% of the cosmos is empty. We don't know what that is. So, this is like I give you a 1,000,000-piece jigsaw, but you found in your hands you have only 3 of them. With these three, you make a picture and you're euphoric that you made a picture. Well, I'm sorry, there are a million pieces to this. Has anybody gathered all the pieces? Then don't make a picture.
You've talked about the only way to really make change is to turn inward. As we look inward, turn inward, go inward, what are we working on awareness, consciousness? Like what is the…
See, right now, what are the instruments of your experience? You know you're here only because you can see, hear, smell, taste and touch. This is the only way you know that you're here right now. Suppose you doze off, don't, okay? Suppose you doze off. You don't know that you're here, isn't it?
Yes.
Even though you're here. Your heart is beating, everything is functioning, the world is on, we are all here, but you won't know that you're here, nor will you know that I'm here or anybody else is here, isn't it?
Yes.
All that's happened is, life is on, full on, even within you. Only thing is, these five sensory organs have shut down. So your entire experience of life right now is happening because you can see, hear, smell, taste and touch. Just look at the nature of the sensory organs. In the very nature, they're outward bound, isn't it? Can you roll your eyeballs inward and scan yourself?
No.
Shall I give you a bad example?
Sure.
Our nose is located right above our mouth. Suppose you don't brush your teeth for 3 days. Though this nose is right here, it won't tell you you have not brushed your teeth. The whole room will know you have not brushed your teeth, but you will not know. This is the human predicament. It's very easy to see what's wrong with this guy, what's wrong with her, what's wrong with her.